Alright guys, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to walk you through my whole at-home product photography workflow. So it's everything from picking a product to finding inspiration to building concepts to actually shooting and ultimately editing these images. It's crazy, it's a mess. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. So whenever I'm doing product photography, I start with a product. So I go to the store or I check in my fridge or my house and I try to find a product that speaks to me, whether in terms of branding or colors or typography or packaging. And then from there, I also try to figure out, okay, which products will work well with what I have. So I have a collection of seamless paper backdrops, which products will work well with those. And then I also just build concepts around that. In this case, I was at Shoppers Drug Mart and I found this Garnier Fructis Triple Nutrition Fortifying Conditioner. And I just like the yellow, and I have a yellow backdrop, which will complement this well. I like the hints of green from the avocado. I can kind of build some shots based on these elements that will work pretty well. So I'm gonna have 3 shots for this product, 3 concepts, using different techniques and different styles of photography almost, and try to utilize the product as much as possible. What I also like to do is I don't like to complicate the shots. I don't want to think of every possible combination of shots that I can take with this product, otherwise I'm going to be here for days trying to come up with concepts and props and different ways to stage and style things. I like to limit myself to three money shots for my Instagram, and whatever comes out of that is what I'll use. So yeah, I start with a product and I go from there. After that, I start with looking at inspiration. So I'm usually looking at Instagram or sometimes Pinterest, but mainly Instagram I find. And I'm just scrolling and I'm looking at different photography pages or mock-up pages. I screenshot them and then I put them into a Photoshop file and just kind of create a rough shot list of the shots that I like. Using shots like this as inspiration, in my opinion, is helpful in terms of learning how to recreate certain things and how to create things for a product. So these are the 3 that I came up with. And if we look at them, the one on the left is kind of like a flat lay style, and I want to kind of use the avocados, and I found some leaves that I want to use for this shot. And I like the colors, and it's going to pop and it's nice and vibrant. The shot in the middle is going to be more of a composite shot, so I want the bottle to be floating. And since it's a conditioner, I like this whole liquid effect, so I want to see if I can find a file or a stock asset that I can use to create this. And then the last one is more just a natural, the bottle standing up shot. I'm gonna have avocados on the side and the almonds and leaves and stuff like that. I got this shot straight from the Garnier Whole Blends Instagram account. And I'll link to all the creators of these images in the description of this video. So that's the concept that I'm going with, these 3 images. And what I'm gonna do is now set up the studio with the yellow seamless. And we're gonna start with the flat lay shot on the yellow background. Let's go. All right, so I have this setup kind of in place. I have the yellow seamless setup cascading onto the floor. I put the conditioner there. It's gonna be a top-down shot. So I have the Aperture 300D as my key light, as like a soft source. And then I also have this reflector, which I'm gonna fly in once the lighting is kind of set up and I have all the props placed. But right now I'm gonna go get the avocados and kind of start setting up the shot. All right, so they're honestly a little bit more ripe than I would like. Do I use it and retouch it? I'm not sure. Maybe. The first shot was the top-down angle on the yellow seamless, and The main issue I was having was I had the key light, which was the aperture 300D with the light dome, but the reflection of the light dome in the bottle was not producing a flattering look on the bottle itself. So I was really struggling trying to find the right angle for the light dome to be placed, especially in my small room, such that the reflection isn't as pronounced and it's more subtle. In this case, it was really just messing up the label and wasn't working out. What I decided was I was gonna get a strip box, which is a smaller, more narrow softbox, and I was gonna play with that to see if that would work and help solve the problem. So I'm not getting much luck with the softbox or the light dome and getting the specular highlight to where I want it to be, so I'm gonna use my strip box downstairs, which is more narrow, and hopefully that'll give me some more control with the specular highlight. After playing with the strip box and doing multiple test shots, it still wasn't working. I was still getting an unflattering highlight on the bottle, and no matter where I put the light, especially given the space in my room, I couldn't get the quality of light that I was looking for. So this isn't really working out. I'm getting the specular highlight to be thinner, but it's still too prominent. There's two options. One, I'm gonna go with a harder source. Second option, which I'm gonna try now, is use a strobe, bounce it off the ceiling, and get a soft source to fill the room. I'm gonna try that. If not, hard source. And then we're moving on. All right, so what I have here is the AD400 Pro. I'm gonna bounce it right off the ceiling. The ceiling's white. It should give me a soft look. I'm gonna try it and see how it goes. It was still a struggle, but I eventually was able to make it work by also not being dead on the bottle top down. So I was slightly off axis to eliminate any of the remaining reflections. And I found that combination of the strobe and my angle produced an image that I was fairly confident I could bring into Photoshop and make work later on. Okay, I think I found something I can live with. So right now I'm gonna restyle everything and just start getting the shots. All right, so that shot is done, the first shot finally. Took a while, and I'm gonna have to do some retouching to fix it all up, but overall I'm happy and we're gonna move on. So next shot I'm gonna do is the one where the bottle is floating, and what I'm gonna do is set up the white backdrop for that shot, and then I'll just cut it out in post. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna set my 5D up on a tripod with the lens. It's probably gonna be the 100mm macro lens. Set it up on a timer and then hold the bottle and hopefully get the shot. So I got the macro lens on. I'm gonna bring it around to where my camera is. So I set it to a 10-second timer. Let's see. I have no idea. So the second shot was the composite shot. So it was where the bottle was kind of floating in space and had this liquid flowing around it. And initially my idea was to just hold the bottle and then mask it out later. It just wouldn't work. My fingers would be in the way, and with focus and with framing, it just wasn't happening. So what I decided to do was to just use the stool that I use for portraits, put the bottle on that, and then rotate it to the angle that I want. That way I could be behind the camera, check the framing, focus, get the lighting exactly what I wanted. And it ended up working fairly well. So what I decided to do is put it on the stool, rotate it, so I can, in Photoshop, just go like that. This thing is much more powerful than the 300D, so I'm gonna bring this closer to get more of this defined highlight. and then angle this down, and that should be it. In terms of lighting, I had the Aperture 300D with the strip box to the left of the bottle, and that was providing a nice specular highlight on that side of the bottle, and it was fairly perfect right off the bat. And then I also had the strobe on the right side of the bottle, bare bulb. It was working, but I wasn't fully happy with the shot, so what I did was I added the Aperture light dome to the strobe. And what that did was it allowed the light to wrap nicely around the bottle and filled in any shadows and provide a more flattering look to the bottle. And after that, I was pretty happy with the result, grabbed a few extra shots, and was able to move on to our last setup. So for the last setup, I had the bottle on top of a marble surface against the white background. And then I just staged the shot with the avocados and the leaves to help build some context to what we were looking at. Otherwise, nothing really changed. The lighting was very similar to the second setup. The only thing that did change was I wanted more light on the background because the background was kind of more flat and becoming more gray. So my initial idea was to add the Aperture 120D as a third light to the background. But then when I realized I had this Home Depot clamp light, so instead of setting up the 120D, I just clamped this to the stool, and that gave enough light to the background where I was happy to continue. So once I added that light to the background, it just came down to some minor changes to the staging of the avocados and stuff like that. And I was able to get a few shots that I was fairly happy with, and I was able to wrap up the shoot after that. Alright guys, it's the next day, and right now we're going to go through all the photos, select the 3 that I want to edit, and then bring them into Photoshop and finish them up. So we're starting in Lightroom, have a collection made, and then we're going to pick the 3 and go from there. So let's jump right into the first image here. The first thing I could usually do is transform, so kind of bring it in, rotate it a bit, make sure it's all aligned. So what I'll do is I'm just going to bump up the exposure a touch, bring in some contrast, something like that. I'm relatively happy with this. Let's see before and after. Very subtle. I'm going to try one more thing with the brush. I'm going to zero these out again, and I'm just going to bump the exposure a bit, and maybe some of the highlights. Let's do 10 and 0.10. Boom. And I just want to maybe brush the avocados. So I think I'm pretty happy with how this first photo is looking. So I'm going to leave that for now, and I'll finish that one in Photoshop. So let's move on to the second image. This is going to be a simple composite shot, so I'm going to mask out the bottle. So what I want to do is just brighten it up a bit. Something like that is good. Maybe add some contrast. Something like that is okay. Maybe boost the whites. Let's do maybe 12. And something like this, I don't have to do much else. I mean, I can brush the bottle. Just the label right here. I think I'm happy with this as well. I'm going to straighten it out. Just maybe crop it a bit. Less work for Photoshop. Something like this. One more brush, and I think that's it. Happy with that one. Next are these shots. I really don't want to edit all these 3, so I might just decide to bring one in and start with this. But it's not even, so I'm gonna just do a manual adjustment like that. That looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna crop in a bit. A few things I noticed is that I wanna either eliminate this highlight or continue it across. So I'm gonna make that decision in Photoshop. I'm also gonna clean up this one right here. This one's pretty even, but if you go to look at the bottom here, I might just extend it here. I'm gonna copy, drop it on this guy, make some adjustments. That's looking pretty good. So yeah, these are gonna export. I'm gonna bring them into Photoshop and finish the retouching. I'll probably speed up the process. All right, so with the first shot, there's a few things I'm looking at. Obviously the bottle, but the first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna retouch these avocados. So what I usually do is I do Command J, duplicate the layer, hide the bottom layer, just so I have a base I can come back to. And then I just hit J as well. And just go in and start cleaning this up. These really were not the best avocados to use. And obviously for a client project, I wouldn't do this, but for a project that's at home for fun, use what you got. Even stuff like the leaves. I don't like this kind of blemish right here. Remove that. And usually the spot healing brush does a pretty good job. So this is the final image. This is before, this is after. We just cleaned it up. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for now. So let's save that. Let's move on to the second image, which is the composite. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is duplicate the layer. Hit W for the quick selection tool and just highlight the bottle itself. Once everything's selected, go to select and mask, hit OK. My settings are already set, so it should be fine. Now let's select the inverse, hit delete, deselect, let's create a new layer, call it background. And what we'll do is just create a black background for now. All right, so this is the final sort of composite that I came up with. It's nothing crazy, it's very simple actually. But I think it works for now. And it's something new and it's a different way to shoot this product and showcase this product. So I added some outer glows to the edge of the bottle, stuff like that. Duplicated some layers to emphasize the effects, and that was really it. So overall, I'm happy with this shot. All right, so now we're gonna move on to the last shot, which should be fairly easy. This is the more natural looking shot with the bottle standing up. So here we have it. I'm going to duplicate the layer again and I'm going to add an adjustment layer. Let's do a curves adjustment. We'll do a simple S curve. Next, what I'm going to do is start cleaning up the foreground elements. Not a ton to clean up. I'm just using the spot healing brush again. Just cleaning up any dust particles or dirt that happens to fall either on the product itself or on the foreground elements. It looks pretty good to me. So what I'm going to do right now is just remove this highlight. It's nice, but it's not perfect. So I'm just gonna use the clone stamp to kind of finesse this even more. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. What I'm going to do now is clean up the avocados. Similar process as before. We're going to use the spot healing brush and clean up some of the blemishes. What we're going to do after this is just dodge and burn the bottle. So what we'll do is we'll create a new layer, dodge and burn, select O. So now I'm going to dodge the highlights on the label, even the avocados. I really want to emphasize this specular highlight on the side. It's a nice touch. All right, so that's basically it. Here's the final image and before, after. Pretty simple edit, nothing crazy. It just kind of utilizes the same principles as before. Clone stamping, spot healing, dodging and burning. Pretty basic, so. The kind of takeaway is if you capture everything in camera as much as possible, then you don't have to retouch the avocados or anything crazy like that. So If you're doing your own shoots, product photography, whatever, make sure you kind of plan it accordingly, and the end result and the post-production will be less intense. Alright guys, well that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a mess, I know it was all over the place, but we're gonna get better as I shoot more and edit more for myself and for YouTube. I'll get used to the process and refining things. I know exactly what not to do next time and what to do, but it'll get better. These are just growing pains. So, but I do hope you enjoyed it and got some tidbits or some knowledge or picked up some insights into what I do with at-home product photography, and hopefully this can help you on your own projects as well. So yeah, I have more videos coming soon, different types of videos as well, which could be fun and interesting. I'm kind of playing around with different concepts and formats. So stay tuned and consider liking, commenting, subscribing. That would be amazing. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.